Good afternoon. Changes are coming to how Toronto recycles. Officials rolling out the details today on the impact to residents.
As the city moves to privatize blue bin collection in the new year. CTV's Mike Walker is live at City Hall with details on the changes. Mike.
Nathan, Michelle, this change to a private company is part of a province-wide system mandated by the Ford government. And this morning, city officials say they are committed to a smooth transition. So starting January 1st, Vancouver-based Circular Materials will be responsible for collecting recycling from residential properties. And some new items you can add to the blue box will include toothpaste tubes, deodorant containers, and black plastic. This is part of the Ontario government's plans to make producers responsible for the products and packaging they put in the marketplace. Now, this does not apply to city facilities, commercial properties, charities, and religious organizations, and garbage and organic collection will not be affected by this change. And the city, as I mentioned, says it's committed to a smooth transition and that pickup schedules will remain the same. Here's more from city officials.
Same bin, same day, different operator. And I think we hope that it is a smooth transition.
Do not call 311. We encourage all residents, if they have an issue, to call Circular Materials for any miscollection and any broken bin or repairs that are needed.
Now, the city estimates the annual savings to be about $10 million, and officials said this morning that will be used to offset any future rate hikes. At a committee meeting this morning, though, some councillors expressing concerns over maintaining current service levels, and they will be asking for a report back on this transition early in the new year. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Turning to breaking news this hour, Peel police say a man was shot this morning in Mississauga. It happened around 11 near Derry Road and Cardiff Boulevard. Police say the man was taken to hospital in critical condition. The public is being asked to avoid the area. We will have more information as it becomes available. And in Brampton, a 19-year-old man is in hospital after a shooting late last night. Officers were called to Mintleaf Boulevard near Sandalwood Parkway and Torbram Road around 10:30 last night. They taped off a large section of the residential street. Paramedics say one man was rushed to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. There's been no word on suspects at this point. Anyone with information is asked to contact police.
It's been 1 week and there's still no timeline for when hundreds of residents will be able to return home since a fire broke out at two condo buildings in Thorncliffe Park. The fire has been slowly burning through particle board and walls shared by the two high-rise buildings. Efforts to put it out have been hampered because it's smoldering in a space that is too narrow for crews to access directly. Officials describe the fire as unprecedented. 370 residents have registered with the Red Cross to receive support so far. The city says 239 of them are being put up in hotel rooms. A high-ranking officer with York Regional Police has been charged in connection with an incident at a Santa Claus parade in Innisfil.
As CTV's Mike Arcelides reports, the officer has also been suspended without pay.
This is 53-year-old York Regional Police Staff Sergeant Lori Perks. The woman South Simcoe Police say was behind the wheel of this grey Audi SUV that witnesses said hopped the curb after being blocked from driving through the Innisfil Santa Claus parade route last month. Perks, whom police revealed was off duty at the time, has been charged with dangerous driving after investigators received calls during the parade on the afternoon of November 23rd. Witnesses told police the Audi was seen jumping the curb and exiting this plaza parking lot along Innisfil Beach Road at about 2:30 p.m. before traveling through a pedestrian walkway. No one was injured, but days later, South Simcoe Police appealed for the public's help identifying the driver when investigators released these photos. Perks is a longtime York Regional Police officer, having climbed the ranks for more than 2 decades, working for years as a media officer, detective, and now staff sergeant.
The criminal environment that they're put in.
It was about 12 years ago, while working as a supervisor, Perks found herself as a respondent following a workplace harassment complaint that ultimately found she engaged in name-calling and made derogatory comments about one of her female officers, whom she suspected had called in sick from work to travel to Jamaica.
Oftentimes,
An investigation into her conduct found Perks went as far as calling Pearson International Airport and Canada Border Services to find out whether the female officer had flown to Jamaica, where she had property with her husband.
at this point, there is
Despite learning her suspicions were mistaken, the investigator said Perks provided incorrect information to management, claiming the officer traveled to Jamaica, when in fact she had not. Perks received no formal discipline and was subsequently promoted to staff sergeant. York Regional Police has confirmed Perks has been suspended with pay. Court records obtained by CTV News revealed Perks was charged a year ago with failing to remain at the scene of a crash in Innisfil. The charge was withdrawn last month. The accused is scheduled to make her first court appearance early in the new year. The allegations against her have not been tested in court. Mike Arsledy, CTV News, Barrie.
2 pedestrians were injured after being struck by a vehicle in separate crashes yesterday, only 30 minutes apart. First, in the East End, a woman was struck by a vehicle near Broadview and Riverdale just before 5:30. The woman in her 50s suffered serious injuries, and the driver involved remained at the scene.
And shortly after, a pedestrian was struck by another vehicle near Queen and Leslie. They were taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The driver in this crash also remained at the scene, and the cause is being investigated.
And Toronto police are expected to provide an update this afternoon on a home invasion in North York early yesterday morning. Police say 2 vehicles were stolen from a home near John Garland Boulevard and Martin Grove just before 1 yesterday morning. One of the vehicles was then involved in a crash with a police vehicle. 2 suspects were arrested at the scene and 1 remained outstanding. A gun was also recovered. The update is set for 1 p.m.
A shipping container destined for Jamaica to help those impacted by Hurricane Melissa was stolen earlier this week. It was loaded with relief supplies like clothing, food, and generators.
The people who collected the items are now hoping the public can help get them their donations back. CTV's Rahim Ladani has the story.
We actually was packing from here.
Michael Bennett and other volunteers have been gathering donations to send to Jamaica after the country was devastated by Hurricane Melissa. But when they came to their storage facility to load a 20-foot truck, everything was gone.
For someone just to take it like that, it's hard to deal with that.
Bennett says he was shown security footage captured by the company Public Storage in Mississauga.
This is the lock that was cut.
He says it shows a flat truck break through a locked gate, back up to this blue trailer where the barrels and crates of goods were stored. The truck was loaded up before driving away, all around 5 in the morning.
It doesn't matter about the stuff and all that thing. The food is more important than even some of the other stuff that's there. You know what I mean? What are they going to do with it here? Absolutely nothing, man. Absolutely nothing.
Among the stolen items were nearly 24 barrels and crates, which had been filled with food, clothing, and generators. Donations meant to help those who are recovering from the deadly hurricane.
In 3 weeks, we collect over, I would say maybe $300,000 to $400,000 worth of stuff. That is food, equipment, tools, everything you could name it to go build back houses and feed the people.
Peel police confirmed they came to the storage facility just east of Derry Road and Goreway Drive and say it appears a theft occurred overnight. While the volunteers now work with police in their investigation, they remain strong, vowing not to quit.
They ain't gonna shake us. I think we're gonna do better.
Promising to gather donations again so Jamaica gets the help it needs. Rahim Ladani, CTV News.
Still to come this noon hour, tens of thousands of public servants are being notified they may be eligible for early retirement as the federal government looks to cut about 40,000 jobs.
But first, food's expected to take up a bigger share of household budgets next year, and that's according to a new report released this morning. CTV's Kamil Karamali joins us with more on the food price report. Kamil, how much are food prices expected to increase for the average family of 4 next year?
Hey, Nathan, the average Canadian family will have to pay nearly $8,000 more for food in 2026. That's according to the food report released this morning. And that would bump up the average family of 4's allocation for their budget towards food or their overall food expenditure up to over $17,000. So you can see the numbers here. The average family of 4 will have to pay $994 more in 2026 compared to 2025 for food, and that the total predicted food expenditure will go up to $17,571. That is according to Canada's food price report released this morning. And the biggest increase is expected to be seen in meat. We can see the breakdown here on the next graphic board. Meat is set to increase anywhere from 5 to 7% next year. You can see that circle in the top right of your screen. And meat already saw a 7.2% increase in 2025. So yet another 5 to 7% increase expected in 2026. Other items and food groups set to increase are restaurants, also expected to see anywhere from a 4 to 6% increase. One of the reasons is that Canadians are consuming less alcohol, so restaurants are being forced to increase menu prices to cover that loss of income. And vegetables also set to increase anywhere from 3 to 5%. So you see the number at the bottom of your screen here. The total increase, Nathan and Michelle, in food prices up 4 to 6% in 2026. So if you are budgeting for next year, if you're an average household of 4 people, you might have to stretch yourself a little bit thinner to afford food and groceries for next year.
Very significant. Are there any other factors at play when you look at these prices increasing so much?
Yeah, obviously, we've heard it time and time again. The trade war, Nathan, playing a big role. But now that the tariffs have decreased a little bit and we aren't seeing as many tariffs, companies are still reaching to Asian production companies and European sources for a lot of these food items. And that is taking some time and extra resources. So you're seeing some of those costs reflected in the food prices as well as climate change. You know, we've seen a decrease in the number of cattle that is available, and that is because the number of food for cows is also decreasing because of droughts and floods as well. And that is all having an impact on food banks and those who can barely make ends meet as well. Have a listen to what the Daily Bread Food Bank from Toronto had to say.
When they make those decisions to have to come to the food bank, that's going to increase our client volume yet again in 2026, and it'll increase our cost to be able to serve those clients. But, you know, just at the beginning of the pandemic, we were spending about $1.5 million a year to be able to feed the city of Toronto, just in terms of our food costs. That number now, $22 million per year.
And already hearing from places like the Daily Bread Food Bank that they will be limiting or seeing a decrease in the number of meat that gets donated, but also families who are feeling stretched thin, Nathan and Michelle, cutting back on meats already this year and possibly for next year. Back over to you.
A lot of concern. CTV's Kamil Karamali in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Anytime.
Now it's time to take a live look at our city this afternoon. And can you tell from this shot, it is frigid out there. The wind, the temperatures, at least we do have some sunshine in the mix. Lindsay Morrison is here with all the numbers, and they are below zero.
Oh, they are, Michelle. You know, the calendar may not suggest it entirely just yet, but this is a true winter day. It is cold, it is windy, and in some areas, it's snowy. I know we're enjoying that sunshine in Toronto, but it is -5 degrees, and it feels like -14 at this hour. Winds are coming out of the northwest. We knew that change was going to happen, and those winds are gusting upwards of 50 kilometers per hour. Snow squalls, a bit of the weather story again today, mainly for areas north of the GTA, but we too could get clipped today. So here's a look at the satellite and radar. It is particularly snowy around Collingwood, Stayner, south toward Aurora even. We'll zoom in a little bit closer to show you some snow now inching toward North York, for example. We are likely to experience flurries throughout the day today. Some localized areas could even pick up a centimeter or 2. This is our coldest day of the week. It's also our coldest day of the season so far. But is this pattern going to continue? We'll take you through the 7-day forecast coming up. For now, Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Despite the fact he's embroiled in controversy, Labour Minister David Piccini got a hero's welcome yesterday at the Empire Club.
But as CTV's John Woodward reports, even in front of a friendly audience, Piccini couldn't avoid the Skills Development Fund.
A standing ovation for David Piccini as he entered the ballroom for a speech at the Empire Club of Canada, a lunchtime speaking series for prominent Canadians that started over a century ago.
Our government is setting up our workforce for success for years to come.
Only blocks away, his party's management of the $2.5 billion Skills Development Fund being slammed in the legislature.
This premier used to be a fierce opponent of the government gravy train. Remember that? Yeah. And now he's conducting it. You know, toot toot, all aboard.
The kind of criticism that's gone on for months in a fund tied to an adult entertainment club and a dental practice claiming to treat the Ford family.
Let me deal with the elephant in the room.
That from Joseph Mancinelli, the leader of LIUNA, a union that benefited to the tune of tens of millions from the fund and sponsored the event.
Words like corruption are words that should never be spoken in the legislature, and quite frankly, those who are speaking those are the corrupt people that are ruining this province.
One Empire Club board member is listed as a partner in Rubicon, a lobbying firm. An analysis by CTV News found had represented clients that got upwards of $80 million in Skills Development Fund grants. She told us in a message she wasn't involved in this event, and the Empire Club said in a statement, programming decisions are made by staff within established governance processes. Safeguarding the integrity of our platform is a core responsibility. Piccini was asked about the Skills Development Fund.
Can you tell us a little bit about that decision process and what you're seeing that maybe we're not seeing in the media and the public?
Yeah, and I think this really stems, first off, I want to say, I have never skirted ministerial accountability. I am accountable as minister for the decisions that we make as a government.
Calls for accountability also coming from some on the right, including the New Blue Party.
Spending taxpayer money on basically corporate welfare, which is what they've done with the Skill Development Fund. It's hard for the general public to wrap their head around that because it goes against everything they've been taught from their parents and their grandparents of what the PC party is.
Jim Carahalio says this audience should wake up, but today they are applauding. John Woodward, CTV News.
Ottawa is in the process of sending letters about its planned early retirement program to thousands of employees as it works to reduce the size of the public service. Letters are being sent to roughly 68,000 public servants who may be eligible for the program. Ottawa is looking to cut the number of public service jobs by about 40,000 from a peak of 368,000 positions in 2024. The government is trying to boost the rate of attrition and avoid cuts to younger workers by offering a voluntary program allowing workers to retire earlier without incurring a pension penalty. And Prime Minister Mark Carney will head to Washington to take part in tomorrow's FIFA draw. And CTV News has confirmed that while he's in the U.S. Capitol, he will also hold some high-level meetings. And for more on this, we're joined by CTV's Jeremy Charon. Jeremy, what do we know about the meetings the Prime Minister has planned? We do know that, the President, the U.S. President and the President of Mexico will be taking part in this FIFA event. And sports tend to bring people together.
Absolutely, Michelle. I think that is certainly the hope. What we can confirm is that the Prime Minister will meet briefly with U.S. President Donald Trump as well as Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. As you've touched on, sports bringing the three leaders together at a time when the review is up next year for the agreement, the trade agreement that exists between the three countries. And relations between Canada and the U.S. are tense, to say the least, at least when it comes to trade negotiations and tariff negotiations. We know talks have been off since the Ontario government put out that anti-tariff ad featuring Ronald Reagan. Canada and the U.S. have not carried on with negotiations since then. And so this is significant that the Prime Minister will meet with both leaders. We also have confirmed through the Mexican embassy that President Sheinbaum will have her own separate meetings with Prime Minister Carney and President Trump. So this will not be a trilateral meeting, but rather individual meetings between all of the leaders. And this is, a bit of a breakthrough, if you will. Unclear what this will mean moving forward for ongoing negotiations between Canada and the U.S. when it comes to trade that have been completely paused for months now. But this is a good sign that the Prime Minister will officially meet with President Trump in Washington. Of course, all three countries, Canada, the U.S., and Mexico, are jointly hosting the World Cup next year, the FIFA World Cup next year. And so perhaps, as you've touched on, sports is what's bringing them all together. And I think there is hope, certainly among the Canadian side, that it could help reignite talks between the two sides. We'll be watching very closely tomorrow when this happens. But it is absolutely significant that the Prime Minister has been able to confirm an official meeting with the President, although brief. It is expected to be a brief meeting between the two at the Kennedy Centre, which is where the unveiling of the FIFA draw is going to happen. That is kind of the main event that is happening tomorrow. But certainly it's a good sign, at least, that the two leaders are going to meet in an official capacity, and there's hope that it could lead eventually to the reigniting of negotiations when it comes to tariffs.
Well, no doubt all kinds of industries and Canadians will be watching for any sign that maybe a relationship softens a bit. Thank you. CTV's Jeremy Charron live for us in Ottawa. Take care.
Anytime. Have a good one.
The Prime Minister faced some heat in question period yesterday. It has to do with Ottawa's move to offer financial supports to Algoma Steel, despite being aware of the company's plan to lay off about 1,000 workers.
How is it the Prime Minister could have been so incompetent to saddle Canadians who can't afford to pay their bills with a $400 million bailout bill without any guarantee of jobs staying in Canada?
I quote the CEO of Algoma Steel that there would be an even darker day if this government hadn't acted. That loan, that support gives Algoma a bridge to the future.
The province also gave the Sault Ste. Marie Company, which is Canada's last standing independent publicly owned steel producer, $100 million. The Ford government is echoing Carney, saying it was a choice between saving 2/3 of the company or losing it all.
Well, the investment that we made in Algoma was necessary, first of all, just to keep the doors open, to make sure that that they're available to be open today. And we saw the president of Algoma say if it wasn't for that investment, they wouldn't be here today. They would be completely shut down.
Economic Minister Vic Fedeli said a change in operations at the plant had meant layoffs were coming regardless, but the Trump tariffs accelerated the process.
The potentially ousted leader of the provincial Conservatives in British Columbia is pushing back on declarations from party officials that he's no longer got the job.
I'm not planning to step aside at this point. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. I'm moving forward as the leader of the Conservative Party of British Columbia.
Those comments from John Rustad after a party lawyer sent a letter indicating more than half of his caucus had signed letters asking him to step down. The BC Conservatives Board of Directors also passed a motion deeming Rustad professionally incapacitated, apparently as a result of slipping caucus confidence. Rustad has refused multiple calls to resign since his party came within 3 seats of a majority in last year's provincial election.
U.S. President Donald Trump weighed in Wednesday on the future of the free trade agreement between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. This comes as preparations get underway for a review of the deal.
It expires in about a year, and we'll either let it expire or we'll maybe work out another deal with Mexico and Canada. But look, Mexico and Canada have taken advantage of the United States, like just about every other country, in all fairness.
3 days of public hearings are underway in Washington ahead of the formal review of the agreement, which begins July 1st. CUSMA, as it's known in Canada, has been a key part of shielding most goods from U.S. tariffs. A number of American industry leaders have been urging the Trump administration to preserve the deal. The Prime Minister's office says Carney will have brief meetings with Trump and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum while he's in Washington for FIFA-related events.
Sources tell Reuters the FBI has made an arrest in a case that has baffled investigators for some time. January 6, 2021 was the day U.S. lawmakers were gathering at the Capitol to certify President Donald Trump's election loss to President Joe Biden. Trump supporters ended up storming the site and delaying the certification. But authorities also noted someone had placed pipe bombs at key sites in Washington the night before, including outside the Democratic and Republican Party headquarters. The bombs were defused and nobody was hurt. A law enforcement official told Reuters a suspect was arrested in Virginia today. Few other details have been shared ahead of a planned court appearance. And staying in Washington, Congress is set to hear today from a top U.S. naval commander at the center of a controversial attack on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean Sea back in September. Admiral Frank Mitch Bradley will be in the hot seat. The question lawmakers want answered is, did he approve the second strike on the Venezuelan boat, or was it directly ordered by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth? The Washington Post reported Admiral Bradley ordered the attack on 2 survivors to comply with a directive from Hegseth to, quote, kill everybody. 9 people were killed in the September military strike. A second strike was ordered to go after the 2 survivors appeared to be clinging to debris.
Israel says its forces killed several dozen Hamas militants trapped in tunnels below the southern city of Rafah today, as both sides accuse each other of new violations. Relatives gathered to mourn some of the 5 Palestinians killed in an Israeli strike yesterday in Khan Yunis. Israel says it was targeting Hamas militants after its forces came under attack in Rafah. This comes as officials confirm a body returned by Hamas yesterday was of a Thai national who was captured on October 7th. He was believed to be the second last hostage whose remains were still in Gaza. Meanwhile, Russia continues to launch strikes in Ukraine, including an overnight strike on the port city of Odessa that injured 6 people. Ukrainian officials say Russia fired 2 ballistic missiles and 138 drones at Ukraine in the latest attack. This comes as the Trump administration continues to pursue a deal to bring Moscow's invasion to an end, with no success so far.
Malaysia's transport ministry says a private firm will resume a deep-sea hunt for Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. The plane went missing more than a decade ago after disappearing from radar shortly after takeoff. The search is being carried out by Texas-based marine robotics firm Ocean Infinity. The company signed a no-find, no-fee contract with Malaysia's government early this year. It'll see a payout of $70 million U.S. if the wreckage is found. The firm began searching the seabed earlier this year, but the operation was halted in April because of bad weather. Lindsay.
Well, we know that it is very cold today here in southern Ontario. Just to put things into perspective a little bit, though, I do want to show you some of the lows reached this morning in northern parts of our province. Look at this. Temperatures near -30 in some places. And yes, these are core temperatures. It's actually feeling colder in some of these spots once you factor in the winds. A reminder that our seasonal norm is 3 degrees. Yes, on the plus side. So we are well below seasonal. We're also well below freezing. Technically, we've reached a forecast daytime high of -2. That happened very early this morning. And now this afternoon, you can expect that we will hold steady somewhere near -4 degrees, but feeling like -10. Warmer air is on the way. We're going to talk about it with a look at your weekend forecast. That's coming up after the break.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
All right, to the forecast. We've been talking about that cold air moving in. Well, you can feel it. It is now here.
Can I say I hate it? You know what? I think we're going to get used to this, but a lot of people I noticed outside, you could just see it on their face. It was hurting them. You know, even when you're bundled up, it's a little adjustment.
Yeah, we're not used to it yet. It's been a little bit of a painful start to the month of December. We've been below seasonal, and today is the worst of it. So, yeah, an adjustment period has to happen for us, even the hardiest Canadians. Today is a cold day. We're going to slowly improve into tomorrow. The weekend looks not bad, but another blast of Arctic air arrives for Sunday night. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. And if the cold isn't enough, how about this? Some parts of Ontario dealing with a very wintry scene today. This is around Barrie, Ontario, where there has been a lot of snow already this season, and today more in the way of lake effect. This will be ongoing throughout the afternoon, although some good news is that the winds themselves are expected to ease as we continue through the afternoon. Some of these lake effect bands are going to start to retreat, but I know, too little, too late. The snowblowers are out. The snow banks already very high in this part of Ontario as well, anywhere south of Georgian Bay. feeling the impacts once again of some very heavy lake effect snow. So it's not going to look like this in our neck of the woods, but it is feeling cold. It is -4 degrees in Toronto with a wind chill of -13. It is quite chilly as well in through central parts of the province. Feels close to -30 right now, for example, in North Bay. We talked about the extreme cold in the north as well. Here's your evening at a glance, remaining cold for the rest of the day into the night tonight. In fact, our overnight low is about -10 degrees here in Toronto, feeling like -15. Once again, it's going to feel like -20 in Waterloo. And how about -25 wind chill in the Peterborough area? So winter has stormed right in. Tomorrow at a glance, though, this is a nice rebound. After a very chilly start, we look to climb to about -1 degree here in Toronto. Varying amounts of sun and cloud. It looks like it's going to be not a bad day overall. And yes, improvements temperature-wise, at least as far as the highs are concerned. And we may notice it feeling even warmer as we head into the day on Saturday. So more on your weekend forecast in a moment. Here's a look at the snow squall alerts that we have in place. We have yellow and orange alerts in effect. So if you're traveling through these parts of Ontario, just be mindful. Visibility greatly reduced among these snow bands. But again, already starting to see a little bit of an improvement. We can also expect perhaps a burst of snow around the GTA. So if you're out and about on the roads, just be mindful of this as well. Not expected to amount to a whole lot, maybe a trace to 2 or 3 centimeters in some areas. And then otherwise, things are looking pretty quiet, active weather-wise. We'll just let this play out so you can see a little bit of cloud cover into your Friday, and then Saturday, some flurries throughout the day, but no measurable snow. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast. This is what it looks like. We're cold again Sunday night and into the day on Monday, but at least we will return to some sunshine. That's the weather for now. Michelle, over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. A housing bill that passed last week at Queen's Park is raising concerns it could make it easier for landlords to evict tenants.
But some groups, especially those representing smaller landlords, say changes are needed to bring balance back to the rental system. CTV's Pat Foran explains.
There were protests at Queen's Park when Bill 60 was passed, concerns that landlords would be given new powers to evict tenants. The government says it's about fairness for all involved.
We're creating balance in the landlord-tenant system.
I've been trying to get them out. I've been trying to move back for a while.
Priscilla Addo owns a house in Whitby but had to move out following a separation. The single mother now rents but wants to move back into her home. She says the tenants are often late with the rent and have delayed her case with the Landlord and Tenant Board for almost 2 years.
I should have the right to move back home, and the Landlord Tenant Board should not have control over something that I worked so hard. I worked so hard to purchase.
She gets to stay, and I have no rights to my property.
Sylvia Vago owns a condo in Toronto. Her parents are retired and were going to move into it, but the current tenant is refusing to move out. The case has been before the Landlord and Tenant Board for a year and a half. The tenant says she will only move out if Vago gives her $25,000.
Like $25,000 is not an amount that is reasonable at all, and I cannot have access to it back until she decides that she wants to move out.
I think Bill 60 is a small step in leveling the playing field.
Solo is a group that advocates for 8,500 small landlords in Ontario. It says the changes will help reduce waiting times to get cases heard faster before the board.
Right now, for me to ask somebody to leave because they're not paying rent, it will take me 10 months. And that's under the new rules. Before, it would take me 2 years.
Small landlords say if they need their property back, it should happen in a reasonable amount of time without the threat of cash for keys.
If I had the opportunity to do this again, I would never rent out my property. I would never be a landlord.
I feel like, it's not fair that me and my children, do we have to become homeless? Do we have to go into a shelter? Because I'm getting evicted now.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
And still ahead this noon hour, the latest on a potential labor dispute involving pilots with Air Transat, which could ground thousands of flights during the busiest travel time of the year. Stay with us. One of Canada's largest airlines has hit turbulence with its pilots. Air Transit pilots have voted overwhelmingly to strike.
And that could happen as soon as next Wednesday, right before the holiday travel rush. CTV's Annie Bergeron Oliver has the details.
There may soon be fewer Air Transat flights on the runway. This time next week, it's roughly 700 unionized pilots will be in a strike position.
A December strike
will be catastrophic because capacity is already saturated. Other airlines like Air Canada and WestJet are flying full plane for the holidays.
This holiday, millions of people are expected to move through Canadian airports, and many will be boarding Air Transat flights. The timing, experts say, puts pressure on an airline already struggling financially.
They're going to push Transat to the wall. Transat's going to realize that the loss of revenue and the impact on market share will be such that paying the pilots would be the least of the least worry for Transat.
The strike threat comes nearly a year after talks began. The pilots are pushing for pay raises, job security, and better working conditions. In a statement, the union says, "Let us be clear, we do not want to strike. However, after nearly a year of slow bargaining and little progress, we urge management to utilize the remaining time and negotiate seriously to avoid operational and flight disruptions." The airline says it's confident an agreement can be reached. Although this is a common step in the collective bargaining process and does not mean that a strike will be initiated, we remain fully committed at the bargaining table and aim to reach a tentative agreement without labor dispute.
97% of these negotiations result in no disruption of labor. So let's hope that they continue to have those conversations in earnest and protect their industry, their employees, and of course the many passengers that are relying on them.
Air Transat says its operations are currently running as normal. Both sides have to give 72 hours notice before either a strike or a lockout. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News.
Canada's seventh largest bank has agreed to acquire PC Financial from Loblaw in the latest deal to shake up the country's financial landscape. EQB Inc., the company behind digital EQ Bank, is paying $800 million in shares and cash in a deal that will see Loblaw take about a 16% stake in the bank. EQB will become the exclusive financial partner of the PC Optimum loyalty program. This deal is substantial for EQB, which is the last of the smaller publicly traded banks left in Canada.
The University of Toronto says it's on the hunt for the next Geoffrey Hinton. U of T says it will create a new role named after the Nobel laureate and artificial intelligence pioneer. The Hinton Chair in Artificial Intelligence will help fuel AI innovations in medicine, engineering, scientific discovery, and the humanities. The new role will be supported by a $10 million donation from Google that the university will match. Hinton, who's a professor emeritus at U of T, worked for Google until May 2023. He quit so he could discuss the dangers of AI without having to consider how it would impact Google.
While we wait for word on the Eglinton Crosstown's in-service date, the countdown is on to an exciting transit milestone for the city's northwest. The TTC's Line 6 officially opens to customers along Finch Avenue West on Sunday. The route stretches over 10 kilometers, serving 18 stops from Finch West Station on Line 1 to the new Humber College LRT station. The TTC will be hosting a celebratory opening event at Finch West at 7 a.m. Sunday. The ceremonial first train will then depart at 7:20. Members of the public who are interested can then ride the second train to depart at 7:27 a.m. A limited number of commemorative coins will be handed out to the first customers at each stop.
Still to come, baseball writers have announced their annual awards. We'll tell you which Blue Jays were voted tops in the majors.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
A new exhibit in the city is bringing together the works of several local artists.
Koffler 301 features a selection of 21 photographs as part of a portrait series that started in 2015. CTV Jessica Smith joins us live for a closer look at the exhibit. Jess.
Michelle, Nathan, it is so cool to see other creatives in their own spaces, and the photos are all in black and white, which brings a whole different level of dimension to them. And the creative behind it all, Dmitry Levinov, I want to bring you in here. Talk to me about the idea behind this exhibit inside Koffler Arts called Being There.
I think for me the most important part is to leave almost like a record of today. And I chose to do that through the medium of portraiture, photographing people I work with. And the second part of that, of course, is these are being artists. I find that to capture the emotional vibe which I'm striving for, this is the perfect subjects.
And there are so many wonderfully talented, creative people that are from the city of Toronto, that are from Canada. Why feature some of these people in this exhibit? Because I feel like sometimes if you're not in the art scene, you might not know who some of these wonderfully talented people are.
Well, some of these guys are quite famous. More than a few names here are like kind of nationally known guys who did really well for themselves. Outside of that, I mean, if it does make a bit of a difference in terms of how much people in Toronto know about the art scene, I already feel like I succeeded in something. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And why black and white? I mean, obviously there's so much dimension to each of these photos. They are all so unique because some of the backgrounds are messy and chaotic, and some of them are so meticulously placed. But why feature them all in black and white?
Well, there are two things. One is that I do believe that for portraiture, black and white is the way to go. And this is purely kind of a theoretical angle on it, but that's just my belief. Second part is that the camera which gets me what I want is a black and white camera. It doesn't have ability to shoot color at all. So you kind of go with both, and that's the result.
And this has been kind of an ongoing project. You said it started back in 2015. We've been putting it together. This is kind of the culmination, but this isn't the end. You're going to continue on. Is that correct?
I mean, for quite some time, I was still developing the tool set and techniques for how I wanted to present this work. And that took a while until kind of things started to snap together, and I got the right equipment and I got the right look. And once it started happening, I feel I got a formula. There is a formula, even though it's not a formula. And I will continue going with this until I drop. So like 15, 20 years easily. And I think as the series develops, we're going to see more of a kind of time component into it, and it's going to make it a bit more interesting.
Now, the exhibit is free to attend. Why is having accessible art in the city so important that for people to come and experience this, maybe for the first time, or kind of welcome themselves into the art scene that Toronto has that is so vast?
I think what Koffler is doing here is fantastic. I wish there were more places like that. And another place comes to mind, 401 Richmond, and a whole bunch of galleries are there. They kind of, most of them are free. I like that. I also like the fact that this is a pretty friendly place. Lots of people don't like to go to art events and art gatherings because they feel we're not part of the scene and it's a bit snobbish, and it can be at times. So this kind of breaks the ice in such a nice way that I quite adore what these guys are doing here.
So do I. Well, Dimitri, thank you so much. It is here until December 14th, and it's my favorite price that is free. I'm going to send things back inside to Michelle.
Thank you both. From art to sports, the Maple Leafs return to the ice tonight looking for their third straight win as they wrap up a 6-game road trip.
Lorentz shoots, that was blocked. Bouncing puck loose in front, they score!
The Buds took down the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers 4-1 on Tuesday for their second win in a row. Tonight they visit the Carolina Hurricanes with puck drop set for 7 p.m.
And the Scepters will be back in action tonight as they host Ottawa at Coca-Cola Coliseum.
In comes Turnbull, shorthanded, scores! A jailbreak! Well, Toronto
The Scepters opened the scoring against Boston in Saturday's home opener, but fell 3-1 to the Fleet. The team's been held to just 3 goals over the first 2 games of the season. Puck drop tonight against the Charge is at 7.
And in hoops, the Raptors will welcome LeBron James and the LA Lakers to town tonight.
Scotty attacking with the left-handed slam!
The Raps won a close one Tuesday night against the Portland Trailblazers, 121-118 to snap their 2-game losing skid. The Raptors have been dominant at home this season with an 8-2 record and sit second in the East with a record of 15-7. Tip-off tonight is at 7:30 at Scotiabank Arena.
And several Blue Jays are being honored by the Toronto chapter of the Baseball Writers Association of America. Outfielder and designated hitter George Springer has been named Player of the Year, as well as Most Improved Player. Right-hander Kevin Gausman is being recognized as Pitcher of the Year, while reliever Braden Fisher has been crowned Rookie of the Year.
Google is out with its year in review, highlighting the most searched topics in 2025.
From sports to slang, Canadians were curious about a wide range of things this year. The company says our national pride was on full display, with the Blue Jays dominating trends, including searches for star players like George Springer and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Pop culture was also top of mind as Canadians tried to learn more about Labubu, the viral toy taking over feeds. and what the internet slang term 6-7 means. We also tried to navigate a changing political landscape with searches spiking for key figures like Mark Carney, Jagmeet Singh. And as for top questions, Canadians wanted to know, why was Canada Post on strike? Why did Trudeau resign? And why do baseball players spit so much, or expectorate? It's a nicer way of saying it.
Oh, okay. And the new mayor of New York City and a famous museum topped the list of mispronounced words in the U.S. this year. Babbel and the captioning group say Zohran Mamdani was most commonly mispronounced, with people swapping the M and the N in his last name. And the theft of France's crown jewels from the Louvre in October had many people mispronouncing the name of the world's most visited museum. Babbel says the correct pronunciation is Louvre, with a very soft pronunciation of R. Other commonly mispronounced words were acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, and Mounjaro, part of that wave of diabetes and obesity medications that soared in popularity.
You had no problem with any of those.
I don't know, man.
No problem
When you
with
have a
any of
story
them.
about mispronouncing, you're like, just don't mispronounce. But usually we struggle with the tennis names.
Oh, yeah, sometimes.
Those
when
are the
you've
big
never
ones.
seen them before and they come out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Anyway.
Weather-wise, we were seeing some snow out there.
Yeah, it's here. That's what it looks like outside, and here's what it looks like on the satellite and radar. A little burst of snow moving through the GTA right now. So this is what we're talking about when it comes to the possibility of perhaps a trace to a couple of centimeters of snow. Tonight is going to be cold, -10 for the low. Tomorrow, this is an improvement. Daytime high, -1. Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.